Straight ahead on Face the State, 2018 is a year for the record books. It started with roughly 20 candidates for governor, which led to a fierce primary battle between 5 Republicans and 2 Democrats. After a multi-million-dollar TV war, Ned Lamont beat Bob Stefanowski to become our next governor. Congresswoman Elizabeth Esty dropped her re-election plans after her role in a sex abuse scandal made headlines. Her replacement, a history maker, becoming the first black woman to represent Connecticut in Washington. Governor Dan Malloy suffered from low poll numbers all year, but had some success, like CVS and Aetna merging and staying in Hartford. Today, our first annual Face the State Holiday Awards presentation, coal or candy? Who gets what? We'll talk with Hartford Courant columnist Kevin Rennie and political pundits Jody Latina and Tanya Meck. It's all straight ahead this Sunday morning, December 23rd, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dennis House, and welcome to Face the State. It's 8:30 on this Sunday morning, and welcome to our first ever annual awards presentation program. Coal or candy? Some newsmakers of 2018 will get some coal in their stocking, others will get some candy. And here to give it all out is our panel of experts. We welcome them, Tanya Meck, Kevin Rennie, and Jody Latina. Thank you all for being back here on the program again. So this was kind of fun. It is kind of fun to look back. And
Kevin's most excited.
He's very excited.
It's so much easier to, I'm a terrible predictor, so it's a lot easier to look back than it is to predict what's going to happen in the next year.
He has a car full of coal, but let's begin with Tanya. Biggest surprise of 2018, what was it?
For me, the surprise was how close the governor's race was. I actually thought things would shake out a little bit earlier. But then on your show, I predicted before the election it was going to come down to, I think, after midnight. What did I say, 11:45? So I was actually surprised it drug out so long. I thought we'd have a little bit more coalescing before then.
Kevin?
I expected a Republican to be governor at the end of the year. And the Republicans managed to nominate their worst candidate and pay the consequences for it.
Jody?
He's so subtle. I think the amount of hatred that people in Connecticut have for President Trump, I think it really played a driving force in that election.
And that was a surprise. I think the surprise was Ned Lamont, because in January he wasn't a candidate. And he entered the race, well, not late, but relatively late compared to the other ones.
I think it was certainly the last serious candidate to get in, and then he started to clear the field pretty quickly.
What were some of the biggest mistakes made? I know that some have criticized the out-of-state consultants that some of these candidates hired. Jody?
I would agree with that. I think a lot of folks from inside Connecticut, were trying to really reach out to the candidates and to say to them, you know, we understand you have outside consultants, and while you do have to listen to them, you also have to go with your gut, and you have to listen to the locals that know the state, that know the residents, that know what exactly folks want to hear from you about. And unfortunately, they weren't taking notes from the locals. They were listening to the outside folks.
We did have one candidate. I don't want to name him or her, but I called this person, invited him or her on Face the State. They decided that they wanted to do it. Within an hour, I got a call from an out-of-state consultant or his or her aide who said, no interviews, no TV interviews. We're not doing that. And that person went on to lose in the fall. Not that that's necessarily, a cause and effect, but you never know.
Well, also, when you hire out-of-state consultants in particular, they are pretty wedded to a national picture, and often they don't see what's going on in Connecticut. So they probably didn't notice, at least on the Republican side, that in the fall municipal elections in 2017, Republicans took some beatings, and largely due to in the suburbs where there was a growing reaction to Donald Trump. That didn't end in November of 2017. That continued, grew, and I think that they didn't see the signs until much too late.
Listen, I agree that you've got to balance, with both of you, you've got to balance the local expertise and the flavor for where you're running. There is a role for out-of-state consultants. There is not enough talent, quite frankly, in Connecticut or many other states to go around. Think of the sheer number of primaries and races that we had in Connecticut this last cycle. These are professionals that know what they're doing. So balancing that with the local feedback and saying, hey, you might want to go on Dennis's show, right? You might want to get some coverage.
But there are the Tanyas and the Jodys out there to be hired. There's also Ann Baldwin. Lots of other people, Dubin McDowell. They're all a lot of consultants in the business, but as you say, obviously not enough so that everyone can hire a local one. All right, let's move on to our presentation, and let's begin with candy canes. And Jody and Tanya, you both have a candy cane for Ned Lamont. Explain that.
I personally gave Ned Lamont a candy cane because I like the fact that he's being inclusive on his transition team. Obviously, Mayor Aaron Stewart, who I work for, is on the transition team, and I think that that's really important for Republican voices to be at the table. He also allowed Rob Simmons and Thad Gray to be in on the conversation, and I think that's important.
Tanya?
Yeah, I mean, on the transition team, setting the tone from day one, well, before day one, actually, is very important. I give him a candy cane for winning and running a campaign that was a little bit more nuanced than Bob Stefanowski's "I'm going to cut taxes" message. And so we gave him a little bit of a hard time because it was a complicated message. He was diving deep into policy, but he stuck with it, and he told the voters the truth, and for that he gets a candy cane.
One of the biggest stories of the year, kind of got lost in the gubernatorial election, was of course the Andrew McDonald battle for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And for that, Kevin, you're giving a candy cane to Gail Schlossberg. Tell us.
I am. She did a very brave thing. She stood up and told a story of experience she had with Andrew McDonald when they were both in the state Senate. Oh, excuse me, she was in the state Senate. He was in the governor's office by then. And, you know, I think people believed her. And, you know, our feeling now is, you know, if you've been bullied, we're going to start out believing you. And that's a tough thing to do, especially in a Senate that was divided 18-18. And she took a lot of abuse and held her ground.
She didn't get a lot of support from her fellow senators in this.
No, she did not. They decided, and you know, even fellow women legislators just gave her a very difficult time, and you would think didn't believe her, but enough people did.
Let's move on to another newsmaker this year, Nick Boletto, and he's getting candy and coal. And Kevin, why don't you take this because I know you
He's
suggested
getting
this.
candy and coal.
Why is he getting both?
Because if you judge him by the results, he did a great job for Connecticut Democrats. They elected. They pretty much cleaned the table.
They elected everybody.
And they elected everybody. and
he loses his job.
And he loses his job. And so, you know, as I understand, he has pointed out, he wins all these victories for the Democrats. He loses his job. J.R. Romano, who's the Republican chairman, lost everything. He keeps his job. And that is the irrational nature of politics.
Ladies, you want to weigh in?
Well, maybe the irrational nature of politics, but also the politics of a new administration, right? And new electeds coming in.
Because Nick Boletto did not support Ned Lamont, correct? I mean, early on he was.
Well, I mean, state chairmen generally don't dive in on a side
Early on.
Early
they can
on
guide
that
people.
Crowded. But
Sure.
he certainly, you know, he certainly did what a state party chairman is supposed to do, which is
and he did it well.
Win.
Good enough. All right, let's move on. Candy. And two pieces go to Sean Wooden, the treasurer-elect. Tanya?
Yeah, so I think he had some of the best campaign ads I've seen, and it's notable. This is the first time he's ever been on TV. He hasn't done campaign ads before. He took the treasurer's office, which is hard to explain and relate to how that makes a difference in your average life. I know Jody can talk about why she liked his pinching pennies ad the best, I think, because you said he sounded like a Republican. But he was with his sons, he was there, he was relatable, he was approachable.
Likable.
And he was
That kind of person,
likable.
likable.
And he
Yeah.
did a really, really nice job of conveying that in his ads. So candy canes all the way around to Sean Wooden.
It's important when you are conveying your message to the general public that you synthesize it and make it really simple. I mean, he was squeezing the last bit of the toothpaste out of the toothpaste holder, turning off the water, turning off the lights. It did make him
I mean,
likable.
he had his multi-millions of dollars stack of cash when he was talking about state investments in gun manufacturers. He made some really good points.
Also, we should give him and a lot of the others we'll be talking about, including Ned Lamont, credit for being remarkably resilient over the years. I mean,
Yep.
Dennis will recall that Sean Wooden sat here in this seat some years ago and had a car crash of an interview with you when he was running for mayor of Hartford. It didn't stop him. He ran for the state Senate, lost that.
He came back.
He came back. I mean, Ned Lamont has spent $50 million on 3 statewide campaigns, and he's finally won.
So resilience wins this year. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be back with more with Tanya, Kevin, and Jody. And we welcome you to watch past edition of Face the State on YouTube or our app.